The officer along with his family members was invited to the reception party organized by his employer. The officer along with his family members was invited to the reception party organized by his employer. Where do you think the error is? See, if you look at subject to verb agreement, we know that along with his family members is just a, additional information, prepositional phrase. The officer is the subject. So was as a verb is correct. So it's not subject to verb agreement error. But where else is the error? Yes, the error is in part 2. Why? Because I have an unnecessary word there bringing in the same meaning. Either I can say invited to the reception or invited to the party, right? I can't have both these words together. I can't have reception and party. The reception itself can be a party, right? The party, whatever the party is, it can be called as a reception. So what I'm trying to say is, when there are two words bringing in the same meaning, I need to be able to identify that there is superfluous meaning there. When I say superfluous, unnecessary word in the context, which has the same meaning. So these are errors pertaining, these are superfluous errors, right? Word that brings in same meaning. So I either delete reception or party. Either one you have. Can't have both. So basically, the corrected sentence will be the officer along with his family members was invited to the reception organized by his employer, or the officer along with his family members was invited to the party organized by his employer. Reception party, incorrect. Okay, we think him as a silly boy. Where do you think the error is? It's a short sentence, but see if you're able to identify where the error is. Were you able to identify the error? Basically, the error is in part B. Okay, why? Because this as is unnecessary here. We think him a silly boy, not we think him as a silly boy. So what you need to remember is verbs like consider, think, call, etc. are not followed by as. Let's look at some example sentences to understand this, okay? So for example, I can say, we consider them our friends. We consider them our friends, not we consider them as our friends. Incorrect. Yeah? Are you following? Or for that matter, even think, right? Think is already there in our context, but we can still look at it, right? Just to give you a context, I can say, we had to think what to do. Next, not this is correct, not we had to think as what to do. Next, incorrect. Alright, okay. See, I'll give you another word in terms of the same construction, right? I can say, yeah, so basically remember this, okay? Consider, think, call, all of these does not take up as after it, right? Let's look at one example for calls as well, since we've covered think and consider. So I can say, she calls me lazy and selfish. Okay, correct. Not she calls me as lazy and selfish. Incorrect. Okay. Our housing society comprises of 8 blocks and 48 flats in an area of about 1,000 square meters. So, where do you think the error is? This is not a new expression. We've looked at this expression earlier as well. Yeah, if you pay close attention, you know that the error is in part A. Why? Because I have an unnecessary preposition here, which is of, right? Because comprises itself means consists of. Right? So remember, something that brings in same meaning, I need to identify that part and delete the unnecessary word. Again, it's an error pertaining to, it's superfluous in nature. Of is unnecessary there. A housing society comprises means consists of 8 blocks and 48 flats in an area of about 1,000 square meters. There's nothing wrong in D. 1,000 square meters is absolutely correct. Or if you're looking at, about as a preposition being incorrect, no, that's also fine. Because about brings in the meaning of approximately. right, of about 1000 square meters. Absolutely correct. The error is in part A, where I have to delete of, because comprises itself means consists of. Superfluous in meaning. So all of these previous 3 example sentences we've looked at, right? Like when I have verbs like consider, think, call, I don't need as to follow. As is unnecessary. Superfluous, out. Likewise, when there are 2 words bringing in the same meaning, in an example that we saw, reception, party, use either one. Don't use both, right? Superfluous. Likewise, comprises of is a very common error pertaining to superfluous meaning. I don't need that of, because comprises itself means consists of. Yesterday, I suddenly came across my friends. Where is the error? Or is there any error at all? So you're saying see, but why? Yesterday, I suddenly came across my friends. See, to come across your friends, come across is the phrasal verb which brings in the meaning of, I bumped into them, right? So, in that context, already come across it itself means by chance, accident, it was not a planned event, right? I just happened to bump into my friends. That's the meaning that the context is giving. So, why do I need that suddenly in part B, right? That is an unnecessary word there. Error is in part B, where I delete suddenly, because came across itself means by chance, accidentally. That is a phrasal verb, right? To come across somebody means by chance you happen to meet them, which obviously happens suddenly only, right? It's not a planned event. Not in front of my friends. See, that is why it is important for you to pay attention to that phrasal verb. To come across someone or something means by chance it happened. It wasn't a planned thing, right? It was accidentally when I was cleaning my cupboard. I came across, an old photo of mine. Yeah? Are you following? Let's look at a couple of more contexts. So this is an error pertaining to what? Superfluous meaning. I don't need that word there in that context suddenly. It's an unnecessary word. It's bringing in the same meaning. So superfluous, out. I don't need this suddenly. I am a man of good principles, and my first principle is flexibility. So if you look at this context, right? When I say principles itself means what? In this context, what is the meaning of principles? Which is talking about a moral rule or standard of good behavior, right? It's understood. Like you would have heard the phrase, a man of principles, which itself means what? A man of moral standard, good behavior, which means what is redundant in meaning, what is superfluous in meaning, what is not necessary, good in part B. The error is in part B, because when you say a man of principles itself means somebody who has a standard of good behavior, somebody who has a moral rule of good behavior, right? So which means I don't need that word good, which is very redundant in meaning, repetitive in meaning, superfluous in nature. Again, an error pertaining to superfluous meaning. I am a man of principles, not I am a man of good principles.